Oh, it is Friday. Finally, Friday. I think we all need the weekend. Come on in, hang out, say hey. I'm ready for this. Are you? Finally, Friday is being brought to you this week by Major Spoilers VIP and Patreon members from around the world. You can show your support for everything we do at Major Spoilers by going to patreon.com/Major Spoilers. Happy Friday, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad Friday is here. I've had it up to here. I've had it up to here with crazy people. The world's gone insane. We got to write this boat and all the other phrases that people are going to say in there. Oh, look at all the cool people that are in the chat. Malone is there. Lagnus is there. Scroll Brian is there once again. I have turned Scroll Brian to the dark side of OBS. Man, years ago, I used Wirecast years ago, but they kept charging like $500 per upgrade or some stupid stuff like that. And I was like, I'm not going to continue to do this just so I can get a live stream show out there. There must be a better way. And at the time, I think Scott Johnson turned me on to OBS. And over the course of a weekend, I was like, oh yeah, this can work. So if you're out there streaming and you're not using OBS or Streamlabs OBS, the Slobs version, that's what it's called, Streamlabs OBS Slobs. You might want to check it out. Oh, thank you for that little thing that bounces around. So yes, congratulations, Brian, coming over to the dark side. Let's see. The one, J. Michael T. is here. I hope everything is safe for everyone in the south as Hurricane Laura blows through. Just the outer edges of the hurricane hit southeast Kansas over the last day or so. Nothing. But tomorrow, it's supposed to get a lot cooler starting tomorrow as the cold front comes through. So I'm really looking forward to that. Let's see. I needed a weekend about 7 days a week. Oh man, I hear you, Malone. You know what I need? I need to open up some packages that came in the mail today. I hope everybody's having a great week or a great Friday. I forgot I had kids in school, and I forgot one of them didn't have cross-country practice today. And it was only about 2:30 when I realized, oh crap, I've got to go pick him up from school. So went and did that, and then after this I have to go get the other one. So this first one is from Asmodee or Asmodeus or Asmodeus. I knew what this one was. Oh, yeah. So this is something, one of you turned me on this during the lunchtime game time, that Fantasy Flight had a number. Let's see, where's the overhead on this? Had a number of new character decks for Arkham Horror. And, normally when you get new characters, these all come out as part of a new expansion or anything like that. Or in the case of, the Silas Marsh character, you had to get it as, an exclusive, or you had to go and buy a book, that featured the new character card and the plays and all of that kind of stuff. What this is a set of a pre-built deck for these characters. Oh, you don't have to feel sorry about making me buy new character decks. You should feel sorry for Dr. Brad Will, who might be watching right now and is like, oh man, now I have to go buy some new character decks. So like here is Harvey Walters. Oh man, remember that time Brad and I played Arkham Horror 2.0 on the game stream that one time? So this includes everything that you need to play Harvey Walters. And I think that this is a brilliant idea. Now, this may not be the most optimized deck that's out there, For Harvey Walters, it'd be great if it was super optimized. Maybe it is, I don't know. But it is a starter deck, so people will still need to go in and swap out their other orange cards or whatever else, their seeker cards that they're going to need. But I gotta tell you, I love card games like Arkham Horror. I hate figuring out how to build my own deck because I'm not good at it. So to see some of this come out from Arkham Horror is a pretty good deal. So there are 5 decks in this, and they don't sell them individually. They sell them as a set, I believe. So I've got the whole set of people here. So I'm kind of excited about checking these out and getting them in their sleeves and get them in the cases. Oops. And all the places that they belong. Have you played Ashes? I don't know what Ashes is. Whoa. I would say, so the question is, does this mean you don't need 2 boxes for more than 2 players, or you still need 2 boxes? I think that if you're going to do 4 players, you really do need the 2 base sets. After that, I don't think you do. But for the base sets, I think you need it. Just because of the way that you're going to build your deck, and if you got 4 people, you're going to do it. I ended up doing that, and it's fine. There's probably about 50 cards that you don't need. And of course, you've got the whole starter set stuff. Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea if you're using it for more than 2 players. But I've only played 2 players. But because Brad and I build characters so quickly and have a bunch of characters out, it was worth it to have that second one. So this next one, I'm trying to figure out what it is. It's from Mantic Games, and the only thing that I can think of that I've done from Mantic Games was their Kickstarter from Hellboy. Oh, yeah. And apparently there were a bunch of other things that I had not received yet. And they sent me a thing that said, hey, your rest of your Hellboy Mantic Games stuff is coming. So check it out. So what do we have here? We have the BPRD archives. We also have, the Baba Yaga Monster Booster. I want to open up Baba Yaga. We've also got the Hecate, or whatever her name is. You can see a picture over there. And also Giant Robot Hellboy, which is, I think, was the only one that I had not received, was the Giant Hellboy one. And so I got all this other stuff that I didn't know was coming my way. And so here is... I don't want to bust the box out because I really haven't sorted the Hellboy stuff correctly yet. Ah, come on, you. Ah, they made this box tight. Ashes is an LCG that uses different dice combinations as well. Marvel Champions is you only need 1 base box, unlike the other LCGs. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, because as you buy the character expansions, or at least the character expansions that I have looked at, the, they have enough of the basic cards so that you can build that yourself. I also like that, and I kind of screwed it up on the base box because I just separated everything, although the Spider-Man card and the Captain Marvel card both have, the starter deck combos on this. Ooh, look at this nice little Baba Yaga figure. Ooh, let's see if it'll focus. Focus, Baba Yaga. Ooh, look at that. Flying around in her little, what is it, a pestle? Mortar and pestle that she flies around in. There's no giant chicken house. Come on, Baba Yaga. That looks pretty sweet. If only I knew how to paint miniatures. And then, of course, it has all the case file stuff in here that you need. Stop. This is the back of the case file deck. To avoid spoilers, turn it over and only look at the front of the top card. So it's got new rules and everything. Nice. That, and these are not... So for those of you that are familiar with the WizKids pre-painted miniatures, you know how they use a different kind of plastic for it that's fairly light plastic? This actually has some heft to it. This you can actually feel has weight. So yeah, I would say even the largest Drow WizKids pre-painted miniature weighs less than this. So yeah, I cannot wait to sit down and play the Hellboy game. It is a lot of fun, and the Kickstarter for the RPG just closed. And I went in, I didn't go in for the whole, or maybe it's just about to close. So if you want to play 5th edition, D&D, but wrapped around the BPRD and Hellboy scenarios, then you should go subscribe. I went ahead and just went with the PDF because I didn't need a bunch of books and all the other stuff. So there you go. Also, looks like we got a bunch of art cards, which I don't really keep the art cards. I give them to Brad, and he's a big fan of the art cards. But when you order from Fantasy Flight, and again, I'm not doing this as a commercial for Fantasy Flight, they send you a bunch of really nice art cards to go along with this. Somebody just cried when I pushed everything off the top of the table. So there's some of the art cards that you get. And they have one for each of the characters in the character set. So that's kind of cool. So those are a couple of boxes that came in. They are resin. But they're not like 3D printed. They are a heavier resin, not plastic. Yeah, the default decks in the starter box in Marvel Champions is at the back of the Learn to Play. I've sorted the decks according to that. Not really interested in customizing. You really should go and check those out, Lagnus. There's a guy that I've been watching on YouTube because I think the instructions are clear enough in Marvel Champions, but I still want to see people play it, and I want to kind of get the feel for it. There's this guy, Dale, that has a YouTube channel where all he does, well, he also played Marvel... What's the upcoming Marvel game from Cool Mini or Not? I think it's Cool Mini or Not, where you have the little chibi Marvel figures that apparently is available in Walmart, but those of us that back the Kickstarter still have not received it. But Dale sits there and he plays Marvel Champions, and he has created his own decks that actually work fairly well, and he shows you what all the cards are in his decks. And I really like watching that. And those really explains the game and makes it a lot more clear to me. So you might want to go and check that out. History Table says, I grabbed the hardcovers and pledged extra for the GM screen. I read through the quick start and thought they did enough to make 5e work with Hellboy. I hope so. I know a lot of people that I know are not huge fans of 5th edition. I don't mind it. So I'm looking forward to it. I did not get the Hellboy RPG. My son-in-law would be interested in running one as Gumshoe. He's read all the stuff, so he's well into it. So that's good. Yeah, Marvel United is what do they say? Come on, or Simon, or because it's Cool Mini or Not, so I just call it Simon. But so I think some people have referred to it as Come On. So is that Come On? Like Come On? Oh, so it's no longer Cool Mini or Not? Okay, that's fine. All right, so in the time that we have remaining, we've unboxed some things. I rarely get cool things in the mail to show you guys, but that came in today, and I kind of figured it was a Hellboy, and I knew it was, Simon. Okay. And I knew that it was Hellboy, and I knew it was the character card, so I wanted to show you guys, because I know some of you really enjoy that stuff. But I wanted to talk about DC FanDome and continue to talk about that a little bit. We talked about it this week on the Major Spoilers podcast, and I came out and said, hey, I was wrong. This was done better than anything that the San Diego Comic-Con had done. It was, in my opinion, professionally done, even though it was all pre-recorded. It was very slick, very cool looking, got out all of the information. And according to sources inside of Disney, Warner Brothers Communications, they say that they had 22 million global views from 220 countries and territories in 24 hours. 150 million views of trailer content that was launched at the event, dominated YouTube and Twitter. So 150 million people watching all of those trailers that basically landed the same time that those events were going on. And now there's some thoughts on should DC continue to do their big media events at venues like Hall H or make a big deal at the New York Comic Con. I mean, what are comic conventions these days anyway? But it really, it's something that I've said before, especially, and this is where San Diego Comic Con really has stuck their foot up their butts, is that DC FanDome is what San Diego Comic Con should have been, number one. Number two, San Diego Comic Con, even before the pandemic, I have said for years now that they need to get people there streaming those panels live to the world. Because yes, there is something about going to a convention and sitting in a room with 100 other people and being the only person to be able to hear this, and then read secondhand on all sorts of websites like Majorspoilers.com. However, you get even more people excited when the entire world can go visit your Comic Con panel. And that's what DC FanDome proved, is that the world is very interested in Hall H presentations. Hall H, I think, holds, 5,000 people, 6,000 people, something like that. And that was that exclusive ticket. People would wait in line for days to go and see a Harry Potter panel or to go see a DC Aquaman panel or the Justice League panel. And it was really ridiculous. You waste your entire trip just so you can go and sit in that panel and see some celebrities on stage. And then, within a day, the trailer that you saw exclusively at the show is now out. So that by the time you come out of your convention experience, everyone else in the world has already seen those trailers. So what DC did really well, and what Warner Brothers did really well, is they took the Hall H experience and they took it virtually in a way that I found super appealing, much better than what I saw the San Diego Comic-Con do with their Zoom meetings and not professional lighting setups, etc. And again, not everyone who's around the world can afford, camera lights, etc., to make themselves look good. There was money put into these video pieces that we saw from DC FanDome. And I think, and I've said before, this is the way comic conventions should be done. And with 22 million global views in 24 hours, plus the 150 million views that the trailers got after that, DC is going to look and say, you know what? It's not worth it to spend $1 million plus to rent the facility, fly stars down, house them, when we can do all of this virtually. So my prediction in the future, you will see DC play down Hall H at the San Diego Comic-Con in a big, big way. And you're going to see more obscure groups get into Hall H in the coming years. But I think DC is going to go this route, and they may skip San Diego Comic-Con altogether for their media stuff. I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. For their media content, for their big TV panels, their big, movie panels, where all they really want to do is get the stars in front of the camera, have them hype up the thing, and then show an exclusive trailer. They're going to get more publicity out of putting that online than limiting it to 5,000 to 10,000 people that can fit into Hall H. Now, will they continue to send comic book creators to the shows? Obviously, yes. I don't think that they're not going to do that. Although, now that I say that, September 12th is the second part of the DC FanDome. And I'm going to be curious as to what the numbers are on that. Because there's not as much interest in comic books as there is in the new Batman movie or the Wonder Woman 84 or whatever it may be. I find it funny in all the, I think it was, I don't know if it's The Wrap or if it's Variety or where, one of the people that they were talking about, or they're quoted saying, yes, we're probably going to do this again. And it's like, well, duh, you're doing it again on September 12th. Doesn't your own in-house people know what's going on with your DC FanDome? So it'll be very interesting to see DC FanDome on September 12th when they talk about all their comic book stuff, especially in light of so many people getting laid off at DC. And I'm hoping that it's probably not going to be 22 million global views, but if it's even 1 million global views, if it's 2 million global views, that's a lot for comic books. And I think people who can have that virtual experience, I think that is worth it. Now, the one complaint that I do have about DC FanDome is that it was only available at DCFanDome.com. And also the September 12th one is only available right now at DCFanDome.com. Because this was not a paid event, because all you had to do is register and go, so you could go in and watch these streams live. Because you weren't paying anything for it, there is no reason why this shouldn't have been on HBO Max. In addition to DC FanDome, there's no reason why this shouldn't have been on YouTube. There's no reason why they shouldn't have put all this stuff up on their Twitch stream. Because at least with the media stuff, it was all, one right after the other. It was not concurrent. There were no concurrent panels, which is the way it was originally set up. You had concurrent media panels, concurrent kids panels, concurrent comic panels, all that stuff. This was just all one streamlined, program show. This could have been on HBO Max, could have been on YouTube, could have been on Twitch. And I think they probably could have had even more than 22 million global views. But when I end this Finally Friday today, I will be able to get a running count of how many people came and watched the show. It's about 30 minutes after the Twitch stream ends. And those are some numbers that I can use, some analytic numbers that I can use. YouTube, that's always growing. I still have to wait a week to find out that stuff. HBO Max, there's got to be some way to track how many people are watching content on HBO Max. But those are now 4 different entities that you have to track in order to get your numbers of 22 million global views. So maybe it's better that they kept it at DC FanDome, but I would hope if they do this in the future that they decide to say, you know what, we're going to put this on HBO Max because that's what everyone's subscribing to. That's where the Zack Snyder cut's going to be. That's where all this other stuff is going to be. Let's put it up on HBO Max and get people to watch there as well. But I'm very impressed with the views and the numbers and the vanity metrics that I always talk about. I'm very pleased with how that came out for DC. This is the real feather in their cap that they need at a time when things at Warner Brothers, things at DC Comics are not going well. And so this is the one thing that they can say, okay, here's a reason why you don't want to cancel us all yet. 22 million global viewers. So I am hoping that we see more of this in the future. I'm hoping, well, I shouldn't hope because that would mean bad things for the San Diego Comic-Con, but I hope we see these types of things occur more often with big publishers who have media backing like Warner Brothers or Disney, where they can take their stuff to a global stage instead of an exclusive stage. Because once you start to build in exclusivity to something, yes, you make the hype a little bit bigger, but when you build the exclusivity into something and you limit the haves and have-nots, then it starts to get a little weird and it starts to get a little political and it starts to build animosity and it starts to build hate. And that's the one thing that you don't want. Remember in years past when Warner Brothers would have their big San Diego Hall H presentation and they would show the trailer and then it was like a week later before they actually officially released it. And so they had to spend all their time running around taking down the illegal, camera grabs that people had of the place. What a bunch of wasted time. And then they lowered that down to like 72 hours, then 48 hours after the release, it finally popped up. But now, you don't even have to wait for that. You could make it instantaneous. So I think that we've actually seen, and maybe many of us slept through it, I think we've actually seen the future of how a virtual Comic-Con can work. And it's DC leading the way. Something to think about this week. What do you guys think? I like it when these big companies, be it DC or Marvel or video games, don't drop everything at the same time. E3, Comic-Con, etc. And B, stream it. So if I want to check something up after, I can do it. Yes, I can see that, Lagnus. Sony has done this. Microsoft has done this with the E3 stuff, doing exclusive stuff. Nintendo, I think, has done this as well. And so it's really good to see companies doing this and allowing a world stage to watch. Now, there are some other reasons why in the past you may have wanted to keep those doors closed and doors tight because, man, if you were around 20 years ago seeing some of these tech demos at the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, or NAB, those things were practiced and rehearsed ad nauseum. And I remember going to a couple of Panasonic panels, a couple of Canon panels. I remember watching a Microsoft keynote speech I was there in the audience for. And yeah, there were flubs. And people talk more about the flubs than they do some of the news stuff that was coming out. So by being able to control it and putting it out to the world stage, more people will focus on the cool stuff that they're announcing and get excited about it and talk about it. I mean, here it's a week later and we're still talking about it here at Major Spoilers. And then in addition to that, there's no, oh, I heard that. It dispels all the rumors because everybody can go and see it. Now, the one thing that I kind of wish that they had done is also make these on demand. They did build in that exclusivity by saying these videos were only going to be available for 24 hours. I think those videos should be made public to everybody so you could watch it at any time. But those first 24 hours are big to get those views. Is there not something to be said about in-person panels and the audience's reaction? No, you're absolutely right. That's what I said. There's still a value and a worth in going to a comic book panel. You get that energy hype, you get that blow up, you get that blown up. And from a studio perspective, yes, having 5,000 people screaming about your movie gives you some, maybe some relief that says, oh my gosh, we did the right thing and this is going to be okay when this finally releases. There's also Scott Pilgrim, where they had 1 million people, well, not 1 million people, but they had people watch that movie, went to San Diego Comic-Con to see the panels, to see the movie. Everybody was hyped about it, but it seems like everybody who went to the San Diego Comic-Con to see Scott Pilgrim were all the people who went to go see that movie in the theaters. It just didn't perform well. So, if you're looking for some kind of a valuation between San Diego Comic-Con panel performance and box office receipts and results, that's not going to be what's happening. Yes, there is that personal connection that you make when you go to a Comic-Con panel. That's how I met Lila Sturgis for the first time, where I met her at a Comic-Con panel, had some wonderful conversations with her, and then, of course, I was already following her and Bill Willingham and the rest of the people over at Clockwork Storybook at the time. But then, got to meet her in person and chat, and then over the years keep in touch and do those things. So there is that kind of personal connection that gets to be made sometimes when you get to go to a Comic-Con panel. There's something to be said about bumping into, what's his name? The lead singer of Kiss, right outside the San Diego Comic-Con hall. I'm at the end of the day, and I just bump into him. It's like, holy crap, and there's his wife. Wow. There's also something to say that when I came out of the Superman Returns movie that I was walking next to Jim Lee, and how weird that was. But that is something that happened outside of panels. That's not something that happened inside of a panel where, again, don't forget, anytime you sit on a panel or you go in and are at a DC panel or a Marvel panel or an Image Comics panel and they're talking about their next big thing, that's just PR stuff. That's all that is. That's just a press release that they're turning into a panel. Because the minute that the fans get up and start asking questions, they're like, well, we can't really talk about that, or we don't have any information on that right now. Stay tuned, boys and girls, because the next best thing is coming up. How about these previews that we're showing you? So realize that the industry panel stuff, the DC's next big thing, or Marvel's Cup of Joe and all that stuff, that is most of the time just PR stuff. The things that get really cool is when you do a spotlight on somebody. Like if you go and see a Gail Simone spotlight at a comic convention. That's when you get to find out more about what this person is and what they're about and what they do and their history and their career, and you get to ask more questions. But even I've seen lately at comic conventions, the amount of time that they leave open for questions is fairly slim in many cases. Now, I know San Diego, they spend like 20 minutes of a panel hyping their PR stuff and then 40 minutes of answering fan questions. But even then, those answers are fairly vague. So yes, there is something about going to see something in person. There is something about going and seeing that and having that personal experience. But you know what I don't have? I don't have pictures of me meeting with, gosh dang, what is the lead singer of Kiss? Paul Stanley? Am I right on that? No, Gene Simmons. I don't have a picture of me and Gene Simmons. I don't have a picture of me and Jim Lee. I just have it up here because I was in that moment. Too many people are like, oh, let me get a picture with a celebrity. Be in the moment. So there you go. Let's see. September 12th, I'm out in the forest. So I'm already looking forward to that Wednesday podcast news bullet points. Yeah, if we talk about it, they may not have anything worth talking about. I'm sure they will. All right, everybody, that wraps it up for this week's Finally Friday. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you found it enlightening. And I think we're going to wrap it up because I do have to go pick up a kid for his after-school stuff. One of these days, maybe tomorrow, for those of you who are gold level patrons at patreon.com/Major Spoilers, tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time, it is the monthly live chat with you. Essentially, you're our shareholders. You don't hold any shares in Major Spoilers. But we tell you what's going on behind the scenes. We talk about the business of Major Spoilers. We talk about a bunch of other things. Kind of give you a hint. Maybe I will talk about some things that happened at our city commission meeting that Scroll Brian pointed out to us. That's interesting. Also, I have some things. I think Rob's going to be there. Matthew should be there. We'll be talking about pay-per-post and my growing trolling, my continued trolling of people that think they're going to be able to pay for a slot at the Major Spoilers website for $15 for an ad. We'll talk about that tomorrow, as well as numbers and all the other things, all the cool things that you guys want to hear about. Answer your questions. 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Patreon.com/Major Spoilers. You need to be a gold level patron and higher to be a part of that, and we hope that we can see you there. But if you can't be there, that's fine. Thank you so much for everyone's support. We hope you enjoy everything that we do at Major Spoilers. And until next time, do good, be good, and we can't wait until once again, it's finally Friday.